the November 30 anti-corruption protests were generally peaceful. In provinces, rallies were filled with prayers and calls for accountability among government officials. In Metro Manila, the crowd was a bit thinner compared to the first mass action on September 21, but the message was just as clear. Mobile Journal Arles de los Santos with that story.
Tensions flared between some protesters and supporters of President Bongbong Marcos at the height of Bayan's demonstration on Recto Avenue in Manila on November 30. The man, identified as Roger Alcantara from Bacolod City, was wearing a red shirt bearing the image of the president. Several members of Bayan confronted him and told him to leave, but he refused. The exchange grew heated until the Marcos supporter eventually distanced himself from the group. As the protest continued, Bayan members smashed and beat a large effigy, a crocodile-tailed figure with the faces of Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte. Aside from holding corrupt government officials accountable, the progressive group also wants Marcos and Duterte to resign. The protest on Recto did not last long after police blocked the area. In a separate incident nearby, Manila Police District officers intervened after a man with a covered face and chako tried to blend in with protesters. He claimed the weapon was for self-defense. Protesters denied he was with them and police escorted him out of the area. During the protest, Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla arrived and stood on top of a barricaded container van. Several protesters immediately shouted at him. But Remulla appeared unfazed and flashed a peace sign, further irritating some of the protesters. The secretary said he did not take the cussing personally. He said he understands the sentiments of those protesting against corruption.
Wala naman dapat ikatakot eh. Dumuro nila ako, okay lang yun. Karapatan nila yun, di ba? But I will never fight back.
Meantime, rallyists at the People Power Monument did not let rains dampen their spirit to stand up against corruption. Several prominent personalities took the stage for the Trillion Peso March 2.0. They included Akbayan representatives Chel Jokno and Percy Sendanya, Liberal Party President Erin Tanyada, and Miss Universe 2018 Catriona Gray. Jokno underscored what he called the administration's outstanding debts, including the passage of the Open BICAM and the long-delayed anti-political dynasty law.
Utang sa tamang pamamahala kasi hindi naman sila marunong mag-good governance. Kaya tayo na sa 2028 ang magpapalit sa kanila. Tama ba? Marami pang utang itong administrasyon ito. May utang sila. Open BICAM, kaya nga nangyari ang mga insertion na yan dahil sinekreto nila ang BICAM nung pinakamalaki sigurong utang ito, yung utang nila sa anti-political dynasty bill. Papayag ba tayo na hindi may sasabatas yan? Oo, sisingilin! At sisingilin natin yung mga yan!
Catriona, meanwhile, issued bold challenges aimed at the Ombudsman and other key institutions.
And when corruption wins, yung mga nakaupo lang ang nananalo. Sila na ang nabubusog. Sila ang nakakauwi sa mga mansyon sa Amerika. Sila ang nakakabili ng designer bags. Habang ang taong ng bayan lumulubog sa baha, sa utang at sa kahirapan. We demand action to the Ombudsman. File the cases now. To the senators, suspend the senators implicated. And to the Congress, pass the anti-political dynasty bill.
No placards calling for the resignations of PBBM or Sara were seen as organizers emphasized their opposition to any form of military junta. Their message remained clear: hold corrupt officials into account and return stolen funds. The Trillion Peso March also featured performances from OPM artists Ben and Maki.
Patuloy tayong mga lampag para ipasa ng Kongreso ang batas para tapusin ang mga political dynasty! At sama-sama nating iboto rin ang mga tamang leader sa 2028. Tama ba yun? At alam nyo,
Attendance at the People Power Monument was notably lower compared to the September 21 rally. But according to political pundit Ronald Llamas, the reduced turnout was expected as yesterday's demonstrations were held nationwide.
Tuloy yung anti-corruption probe, magpakulong ng mga guilty ASAP, huwag matagal, at bawiin ang mga ninakaw. Pero gawin ito within the legal framework. Huwag pumunta sa installation ni Sara. Huwag pumunta sa isang military junta.
Protests were also held outside Metro Manila. At least 100 groups in Baguio City and Benguet took part in an anti-corruption protest. Participants also voiced opposition to local issues, including the supposed malification of the Baguio public market. In Cebu, thousands of Catholics held a peaceful protest against government corruption, carrying rosaries and praying as they march. Participants also voiced anger over flood control failures that recently caused deaths and property damage in the city. Cebu Archbishop Alberto Uy also led a mass at Basilica Minore del Santo Niño, where he highlighted greed and the lack of God's presence in people's lives. In Davao City, progressive groups gathered at Freedom Park, Rojas Avenue, to protest government corruption in flood control projects. Also protesting against government corruptions are Antiqueños. They gathered at EBJ Plaza in San Jose de Buena Vista for the Bugtao Antique Peace Walk. Participants demanded transparency, accountability, and environmental protection, urging local and national leaders to prioritize the province's welfare and natural resources. Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.